For the last part, we're going to label the waterways. Now, keep in mind that waterways, using the defaults, almost, I don't know, 50% of the time it'll work for you. What you're going to find is a lot of times you're going to have to just customize waterways. I'll explain in class, but you're oftentimes trying to use the geographic feature in a way that it wasn't created for, right? It was created to visually see what the geography of the area looks like, the pattern of the river or the lay of the land or something like that. But it wasn't created to put lettering on it. Okay, so you're going to find that oftentimes cartographers will create separate layers to label particularly waterways and oftentimes even geographic features. Sometimes you can look out and it'll save you some time if things line up and work appropriately. So just like previous, we're going to hit properties, and then we're going to do single labels, and then name is the field of the waterway. So I'm just going to hit apply, and we're going to see what happens. So it may look slightly different than yours. It just depends what your defaults are. So I just want to go to placement, and we're going to do force. You want to make sure this is on. Force point inside polygon, and then the centroid of the visible polygon. I don't think it really makes a difference either way. If you do whole polygon, I don't think you're going to get what you need. So you do visible and force, and then mode around centroid if yours is different than what mine says there. So then we can see Delaware River, Salem River, Mannington Creek, and Alloway Creek. Okay, so yeah, they're not turned the way you want, but I'll show you what you can do to perhaps fix that. So right now we're not going to use any sort of rule-based labeling. We're just going to make everything the same. Like normally you would make a creek a different size than the Delaware River. I'll show you ways to do that in the future, because this labeling for Delaware River is actually not really what we would want. So nevertheless, we're just going to make them all the same for now, just to get going. Okay, so we're going to go to text. Most of the time a river is going to be a bluish color. It's kind of a convention. We'll try a font of 9 for now, and you're normally going to use some sort of serif for river, not always, but you will. Let's see, that's where there's a little loop. Let's see if I can find a good one here. You know, something like, even like, I think Times New Roman or something. Let's see about Times. I'm going to be here all day. There, we'll just see if we can do Times New Roman, and then regular, and it's blue, and then we're going to put a little buffer behind it, a little white buffer of about a 0.4, let's go with. And we can just quickly see what it's going to look like. I think that's fine for now. Maybe we want to go with a slightly darker blue. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think that's fine. So the colors look so-so. So one of the things you often want to do with rivers is you want the lettering to be spaced and the words to be spaced, because you want them to cover the geographic feature. Now, I'll show you how you can move these. It's not ideal, it's better to customize them, but we're going to do our best here using the defaults in the software. So what you can do again is go to Properties, and you're going to go to Formatting, and then we're going to add a little bit of letter spacing, and then we're going to add some word spacing as well. And then I'm going to hit apply, and we can take a look what it looks like. So we're going to go a little bit more with the letter spacing. And even a little bit more. Let's see how the Delaware is going. Okay, and then we'll jump this up to a 1.5. We'll just make this a 2. And we're going to hit apply one more time, see how it looks. A little bit more. So I'm going to do 2.5. Yeah, I think we can go with that for now. So we're going to leave the Delaware River like that. And then what you can do is, again, you want to make sure you have your project saved. It doesn't look like I actually saved my project when I started, and I should have. Why I'm doing that now is because I've seen the software crash before when you try to start turning letters. It's just not something it likes to do. So what you can do is, first of all, there's a rotate label, and then there's a move label. So let me start with the move label, and what you do is you click on it. You can just hit object ID, and then you can just move it. And then what I'm going to do is move it, and then eventually I'm going to turn it. And you should just be able to click, and then it moves. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this label. So you click on it, and then you can rotate it like so. And Mannington Creek, it looks like I'm just going to move it. What I really would want to do here is probably set it up like this, and then move it so it fits in the middle here somewhere like this. You don't want things upside down, but that should work. And then this one, if we just move like this, and then down here, I think if we just spin this one and then move it, we should be okay. So my software is acting up. This is what's going to happen sometimes. This is not the best way to do it unless you're in a rush. So like what's happening is the software is like going through this thinking process, kind of frozen at the moment. So the move is working, but I can't get it to rotate. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it here. And then what I would want to do is once the rotation once it allows me to do that, I'm going to just rotate it this way. The Delaware River, I mean, for the most part, you could generally it should be larger than the others. So I think what happened here is Salem got unrotated here. This is like a perfect example of the problems that you run into doing it like this. The software just has such a hard time saving moving geographic features around like this. So one of the things you can do, what I think is going on a little bit, is in the placement, there's this obstacle thing, and features access obstacles. So it doesn't like, if a label is in a spot where there's another label that's close, sometimes it'll just turn the label off because they don't like overlapping labels. So we can try to turn this off here. Yeah, and the other thing you can do is you can click this, show all labels for this layer, including colliding labels. So what happens is if labels are colliding with each other, they won't show. And I have get questions all the time about like why the label doesn't show up. It's because it's colliding with something else, and then it just doesn't show up. So if you turn this off, you can always see all of the labels. So let's try to move Alloway Creek now. Should be good. I'd like to move it so that it's just a little bit above because it's hard to see. So let's see if it lets me do that now. A little bit, like right about there. I'd like it a little closer, but that's fine for now. And then for Delaware River, you can move it and then perhaps rotate it. So when you're working on this part, don't get frustrated. If it starts to act up, you can just leave it. It won't mark any points off as long as you've tried. Yeah, so ideally we would want, maybe something like this, and then I'll move it. It looks like it turned all the way around, which is, it's kind of upside down now. Try one more time. Yeah, it's giving me a hard time, so I'm just gonna leave it. You might have some better luck. And then I'll show you in another video. It's not going to be attached to this, but it'll be like more advanced lettering, how you can just kind of draw points, lines, and polygons yourself to create places for customized labeling. And generally, just to keep in mind, you would normally want the Delaware River to be the largest of all of them. So like hierarchical wise, you would want the Delaware River to be the largest, the Salem River to be the second hierarchy, and then these two creeks would be. So for example, like let's say you gave this a 13 font. This might get 11. These might get 9s or something like that. But that's normally how you would create the hierarchy for rivers.